Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Sam, and in today's video I'm going to be sharing with you some of my recent Kindle Unlimited reads. I have had some really good luck on Kindle Unlimited recently. I have, I think, like 8, 9 books, I'm not really sure. Some of them I read like a couple months ago, but I haven't been able to talk about them with you. And then I do have 2 historical fiction reads that are available on Kindle Unlimited. So we're just gonna get started. So the first book that I want to talk about is Unsteady by Peyton Corinne. Now this is a book that has been on my TBR for quite a while. My friend Cheyenne read it. Lots of other people here in the book community have read it and loved it. And I believe this is her debut novel? I think so. But I just kept putting it off and putting it off. And then finally I'm like, I'm going to read this book. And I'm so glad that I did, because this book, I was not expecting to like this book as much as I did. So we are following Reese and Sadie. Now Reese is a hockey player, and in his previous season, he actually took a pretty big hit that resulted in him getting a concussion. And it's almost time for his new season to start back up, but he is very reluctant, very much like, I don't know if this is what I want to do anymore. He's just scared to get back on the ice. And then Sadie is a figure skater, and she's got a lot going on in her life. She is taking care of her little brothers, her dad, she's just not in a really good family situation. So she's got a lot on her shoulders, and kind of the only way that she can just be herself and only think about herself is when she's figure skating. So she asks her coach or someone to get her some alone time on the ice. And she shows up one day thinking she's going to be alone, and Reese is there. And he just so happens to kind of be in the middle of a panic attack, and she decides to help him. And that sort of turns into them being friends. She will recommend him music to listen to kind of calm him down. And they just really learn to lean on each other. And then Reese kind of proposes a friends with benefits type situation. And he definitely falls first. Sadie, like I said, has so much going on in her personal life that she's not really willing to let go of herself, kind of. She feels like she has too much responsibility, and then just adding a relationship on top of that feels like too much for her. But Reese really comes in and shows her, like, you don't have to go through this alone. And Sadie in turn really shows him that as well, because he's kind of fighting this inner battle with what happened to him and his hit, and kind of just where his future is going to go. And he has been dealing with that a lot on his own. And they both learn to lean on each other. And Reese's family, his parents, the way that they jumped in for Sadie and her brothers, I loved it. Reese showed up for her in so many ways that no one had ever showed up for Sadie before. This so freaking cute and heartwarming, and cute just doesn't feel like a sufficient word. It was cute, but it has so much heart in this book. And yeah, I'm really glad that I read it, and I'm mad at myself for waiting for so long. So if for whatever reason you have not read Unsteady yet, here is your sign. Please read this. And then the next book that I have is Meant for Her by Natasha Madison. This is I believe the Meant For series, and this is book number 2. So in this book, we are following Christopher and Dakota. This one again is kind of a hard-hitting book. So Dakota at the beginning of this book is married to a professional hockey player, and they have 2 young daughters. And her husband is staying out really late at night. He's sleeping on the couch. He's not really being a part of the family because he is on drugs. And one morning she goes downstairs to check on him, and he has passed away on the couch. He has OD'd on the couch. And so the beginning of this book definitely opens up very, very heavy. And Christopher just so happened to be her husband's really good friend. And so you're seeing her grieve her husband and figure out what she's going to do with her life and, you know, what kind of career she wants to have now, because she's kind of just followed him and his dreams, but now she has 2 young girls to take care of and she has to live the rest of her life. And she's also really blaming Christopher, because why didn't you see the signs? Why didn't you try to get him help? Why didn't you? She, I sort of is like misplacing her grief, but also you understand where she's coming from with her anger towards Christopher. Now, Christopher feels so bad for what has happened to her husband and what has happened to just their family in general. And he wants to step up and be there for Dakota and for their 2 girls. He's like, you know, I need to make this right. And he's no longer here, so I'm gonna try and make it right for you all. And this is another one where he falls first, and it really takes Dakota a long time to accept Christopher's help and accept just Christopher in general, because she's just, I want to do it on my own. And she's still at the beginning very mad at her or at him. And Dakota really saw that, you know, Christopher, he is like, he's trying and he is a good man and he can be good for me and for my girls while still honoring their father. So this one, like I said, kind of hard hitting, but still a very like heartwarming and had cute moments in there as well. So I highly recommend this one. So the next 2 books I'm going to talk about together because they are books 1 and 2 in a series. I think this is the Adair family series by Samantha Young. So the first book we have is Here With You? No, Here With Me. And in this book we are following Robin and Lachlan. Robin, her and her dad have kind of had a very strained relationship. So she decides she's going to go to Ireland to sort of get to know her dad a little bit more. Her dad works security at this sort of getaway for rich and famous people. Lachlan, who owns this getaway bed and breakfast hotel resort, whatever it is, used to be a movie star. And so she shows up and he's like, what the heck are you doing here? He doesn't really like how she has treated her dad. He thinks that she's just been rude and he hasn't known sort of the other side of their relationship. So they don't get off on the right foot, but slowly but surely they do. This one does have a bit of romantic suspense thrown in there. And then book number 2 is There With You. This one is a single dad nanny romance. So Reagan is our heroine and she is actually Robin's sister. She comes to Ireland because she's trying to get away from a kind of stalker, psycho ex-boyfriend. And Reagan has been the sister that is very flighty and she has not ever been super reliable. And so when she shows up and she decides to take this job working with Thane's son and daughter, everyone's a little weary of her, but Thane decides to give it a try. You know, I don't have anyone else, let's see what she can do. And she's actually really, really good with the kids. And so Robin and Thane and Lachlan and just everyone there are seeing a different side of Reagan. And then, you know, Thane slowly starts to have feelings for Reagan. And well, Reagan pretty much like from the start is like, okay, this man is hot. I like him. He's a very good dad, which makes him even more sexy to me, more appealing, you know. But Thane thinks, I don't know if I need to get in a relationship because he's very much about his kids. Work and his kids. Work and his kids. That's really it. And Reagan is a little bit younger than him, so he doesn't really know how people are going to react to that. But once they do get together, this was good. So I need to continue the series. If you've read the entire series, let me know which one is maybe your favorite. But I think out of Here With Me and There With You is definitely my favorite. I love a single dad nanny romance. It's just, they're top notch. Now I'm sure this next book has been kind of shoved down your throat, but I had to include it because this is going on my favorite books of the year. Play Along by Liz Tom Ford. Is it Liz Tom Fordy? Because I feel like I've heard people say that it's actually Liz Tom Fordy, but that sounds really weird to me. Not saying that her name is weird. It's just, I'm used to saying it one way, so it's weird to say it another way. Do you get what I'm saying? Anyway, so in this book, we are following Isaiah and Kennedy. Now, we meet Isaiah in previous books, but especially we see him in Caught Up, which is book 3 in this series. He is just a goofball. He doesn't take life too seriously. And when Kennedy comes along and she is working for the baseball team, he is pretty much like obsessed with her from the start. He's like, I want to be with her. That's like, eventually we're going to happen. Okay. But she has a boyfriend. But you know what? That doesn't last very long. And then Isaiah is like, yeah, I'm swooping in. This is my moment. Well, after a drunken night in Vegas, they end up married. And now the situation can kind of benefit them both, but especially Kennedy. She doesn't want to lose her job because she's not supposed to, you know, mingle with the players on the baseball team. You know, they're not supposed to have a relationship, but here they are, they're married, and what can she do? What can anyone do now? So they kind of tell everyone that they've secretly been together and that they got married. So they're pretending to be in this relationship, loving relationship, and they can only pretend for so long. I really freaking loved this book. Isaiah Rhodes is like #1 man of the Windy City series now. Just the way that Isaiah was, he's like my perfect hero, okay? He's goofy, doesn't take himself too seriously, but also he just wanted someone to love him. He has a very like vulnerable side that he doesn't really show to a lot of people, but has such a big heart. And again, just wants someone to love him and someone to show up and prove that I want you. You are good enough for someone to stay around for. He melted my heart, absolutely melted my heart. And I loved this book so freaking much. Next up is my most recent read, and that is Rally by Devney Perry. This is book, what is this, book 3 or 4 in her Treasure State Wildcats series. This one is a college football romance, accidental pregnancy, which you all know, that is right up my alley. So in this book, we are following Rush, Ramsey, and Faye. Rush is the kind of golden boy. He is the quarterback at the Treasure State University. He's got big things ahead of him. And he and Faye meet one night. They get together, one night stand, and then wouldn't you know, Faye is now pregnant. Faye does not have a good family life whatsoever. She does not even live with her parents. She is living actually with her ex-boyfriend in this trailer, and the situation just is not good between them. And she knows that once he finds out that she's pregnant with another man's baby, he's gonna kick her out because he still kind of wants her. And so she doesn't know what to do. She's working at this diner trying to save money and go to college and make something of herself. And Faye she's never really known love. Her mother pretty much from a very young age told her like, I never wanted kids. I never wanted you. And just showed her like not an ounce of love. So when she tells Rush that she is pregnant and that, you know, hey, I don't really have anywhere to live, Rush immediately is like, hey, you're gonna move in with me. We'll figure this out. He really wants to be there for her and for this baby, but in whatever way that she will let him. He doesn't want to be too pushy, but also he's like, I'm not gonna let the mother of my child be homeless. So you're coming to live with me. And Rush's parents are actually there at the diner when her boyfriend comes in, or ex-boyfriend comes and kicks her out. And they're like, yep, I've got a truck, we'll go get your stuff. And they move her in. So his parents are, I mean, they're not super thrilled that he got a girl pregnant, but they're being very supportive. And so she just really doesn't know what to do with the kind of support and the kind of help that she is getting from Rush and his family. And she's a little reluctant to take it at first, but she's like, what else can I do? And I really just loved these two getting to know each other and then eventually falling in love and having a baby. And this was just so freaking cute. It was so cute. And I think Devney Perry is actually coming out with another surprise pregnancy romance sometime really soon. There's actually a lot coming out soon and I am here for it, okay? Give me all the babies. Give me all the babies, okay? Please, thank you. So the last 2 books that I have to talk about are both historical fiction books, but they both have a very heavy romance element to them, and I really liked that about them. They're actually pretty similar in their plots, so if you're gonna read these, don't do them like back to back, because that's what I did. And while I still enjoyed both of them, it was just like, oh, these are very similar, very similar. The twists in them are super, they're not like exact, but pretty spot on. So the first one that I have is A Fire Sparkling by Julianne McLean. So this book is told in a dual timeline, and we're following Jillian in present day. Now, Jillian has just found her husband sleeping with another woman, and so she's going through a really tough time, and she decides that she's gonna go see her dad and her grandmother and just sort of escape and have a little bit of peace and think about what she wants to do with her life. When she gets there, her dad actually shows her this box that he has never seen before in the attic at her grandmother's house. And they find the key and they open it. And in this box is pictures from World War II, where it looks like his mother and her grandmother standing beside a German Nazi soldier. And so they decide, we have to find out what this is, what is going on. And so they go downstairs and eventually they approach the grandmother, Vivian, to tell them the story, like what happened, what is going on. And so she takes them back to 1939 in London, kind of before World War II had started, but we follow Vivian and April, who is Vivian's twin sister. So we follow them in the war and what happened to them. And so they're finding out more about their family and their past and what happened and how they got here today. I don't really want to say too much else about this book because some of the twists and turns in here are pretty dramatic, and I think you should read it and see those for yourself. But this one is just, it's full of just mystery, full of love, full of loss of love, and it's just very heartfelt. And yeah, I highly recommend this one. And then the last book that I'm going to talk about is The Things We Leave Unfinished by Rebecca Yarros. Now for me, this one is equally a romance and equally a historical fiction. So this, much like A Fire Sparkling, is told in a dual timeline. So in present day, we are following Georgia. Now Georgia is recently divorced and her great-grandmother has recently passed. She's got a lot of things that are just going on in her life. So she decides that she is going to go back to her great-grandmother's house and finish a novel that her grandmother was writing before she passed. Her grandmother was a very successful, very popular romance author, but she had left one book unfinished, and that was the actual story of her life and her love. And so in order to do that, Georgia is working with her grandmother's publisher to find someone to help write this story, to help finish it. And that just so happens to be Noah, he's an author. He's been a big fan of Georgia's grandmother for years. He loves her books, but these two do not get off on the right foot at all. They just both are very stubborn. They both just want things their way, and they both have very different ideas on how they want this book to be finished. Noah wants to give it an HEA. Georgia's like, I don't think that's how the story is best. Like, I don't think that is true to the story, and I don't think I just don't think it's going to work. So they do not get off on the right foot at all. And then we have Scarlett and Jameson. So the way that Georgia is going to finish this story is through letters that her grandmother has left her. And those letters tell the story of Scarlett and Jameson and how they fell in love. So that story takes you back to 1940 in London, where Jameson is a pilot in the British Air Corps and he is fighting in World War II. And so you are following them through this very just tough time, and you see them fall in love through their letters. And you also see Georgia and Noah falling in love in present day. So it's two kind of simultaneous romance stories with some historical fiction thrown in there. And again, I really enjoyed this book, but I did read this one literally like right after reading A Fire Sparkling. And so I could see the similarities between these two kind of glaringly so. So maybe if you've read this one, but A Fire Sparkling sounds good to you, give it a few months, okay? Maybe try and like, not necessarily forget this book because it's still a really freaking good book, but yeah, just don't read them literally back to back like I did, because you're like, oh, well, I've seen this before. But I still think they're different enough and the stories are, you know, unique enough to be set apart. It's just there is a big twist in both of them, kind of happens the same. So yeah, still though, really loved this book. And Rebecca Yarros, her writing it just sucks you in. It really does. Her writing is just so easy to read. So yeah, that is the last book that I have to share with you guys. Let me know in the comments down below your most recent Kindle Unlimited read. If you have made it to this point in the video and you'd like to let me know, leave me a train emoji, because I just heard a train. So I hope you don't hear that. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye.